everyone. This is auto asphyxiation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly.
It's a first, well, second something day of spring that's happening, second or third day of spring, because it's Tuesday. So it's like a third day of spring. Oh, yeah, yeah, because spring started in summer.
Spring started the 20th.
Oh, okay. I thought
I
it started on
I
the
think
22nd.
it started the
No, no,
20th.
I don't know. I don't know. Chaz knows because he was bringing it up. He was like, Happy Spring Day. And he put up, okay, my husband's very adorable. He put up a spring flag in front of our house. I was like, what's that flag there? He's like, that's to celebrate spring.
That's really cute.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, oh, I need, okay. All right. All right. Cause I noticed it and okay, celebration. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to go back. We're going to move away from this sweet Wisconsin apple pie story of America. And we're going to go to the gritty, no, that's correct. That's correct. Just the dense urban New Jersey and New York or New York metro area. We should call it the metro area. That's what we should
We
call it.
should.
We should call it the
Yeah.
metro area because, like, anyway, because this is what this is about congestion pricing, East Orange. Well, actually, East Orange, Newark, and Orange. But we're going to talk about East Orange more because Kimberly lives in East Orange.
Yes, I do.
And so we actually have this really kind of like on the ground experience. And the thing I think I appreciate from your perspective is that even with parking, you kind of explain things to me, and I was kind of like, well, so what? There should be no parking. Screw parking. You're like, well, there's no train or bus or nothing by us. I was like, well, that's because you guys hate the environment. No, I was kidding. But there's more than one way. I mean, the thing is this: there's a lot of people do not know this, but with congestion pricing, there is money there, and there is money that can go to um, East Orange, Newark, Orange, and Fort Lee. We'll talk about Fort Lee later. And the reason why there's money on the table and why they're going to get money, okay, I think Newark's going to get 8 million. East Orange is going to get one, no, 900,000. And then, okay, I'll look it up. I talked about it. But I know what it is. But I'll put it in the comments. But it's a little bit, it's a nice little chunk of change. And the reason why this is happening is because essentially, in New Jersey, um, they have this last mile problem, and they solved that problem by parking, in East Orange and Newark, which is East Orange, Newark, Fort Lee, and Orange. And so those people are going to get a lot more traffic. So like, what's your experience of like living in that? That's the thing that's so weird about the situation where you are. You're by transit, but you're not.
Yeah. I'm by some buses. The East Orange station is about a mile from me. That's like that's the heavy rail that goes through East Orange. It's the only heavy rail that goes through East Orange at this point in time. So I talking about this, I have definitely noticed much more traffic around East Orange in general. When I commute, I notice a lot more illegal parking, unsafe parking, like, if you're trying to make a right or a left-hand turn out of a street, there's the visibility is low because people are parked where they shouldn't be parked. Double parking is a huge problem across Essex County, which we've seen like all the time. Like sometimes like there's a lot of narrow streets around East Orange and Newark especially. And a lot of times like people are double parked all over the place so much that it's like a ski slalom going down the street. So I think we're already seeing some side effects of the congestion pricing hitting in East Orange.
Well, I'll tell you something that I noticed. When my husband dropped you off at your house, and I was in the car that day, we had to, it was like these so many cars. We had to literally back up the street because there were these late model cars that were kind of like with SUVs, kind of like I want to go. But the thing is that they really felt like they didn't have to back up. Like they just turned. And so essentially we had to back up several times to let really big cars go by, which is the first time that has happened. Because that was a Sunday. It wasn't even like a weekday. And it just
Yeah.
felt like it was more crowded. And I think the thing is so interesting is that this whole idea of congestion pricing and it working really well in Manhattan, and then we don't even think about the fact that that means more parking in predominantly African American, predominantly working class areas that used to be redlined, that used to be not used to be, was that they were disinvested in. And so essentially, it's just like they have this thing where they have a saying where it's kind of like certain neighborhoods aren't neighborhoods. They're shortcuts. They're places for people to go through. And I wasn't even. And I'm gonna be honest. When I first was talking about this congestion pricing, I was like, I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking, the cultural suburb, people should just, get over it and just get on the train. But I didn't think that people would double down and rather than take the bus to Newark or East Orange, they're like, oh, absolutely not. So they're driving into these places and then just parking wherever they want or just, yeah. And I'm just kind of like, wow, this is like, I don't think so they thought about it that MTA and the Triborough Authority thought about it, but I don't know if this is a converse. Well, here's the thing: is interesting. Have you? They're supposed to have these mitigation meetings. They're supposed to have stakeholder meetings where people are supposed to be at these meetings. Have you heard of any of these meetings?
Not at all. No, not at all.
You haven't heard, and I think that's the thing that's so interesting is that when I talked to Damian Newton of LA Streets blog and the California Streets Initiative about this, and I put up the podcast, and people were asking me, "So when's the meeting?" And I was like, "I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't." Go ahead.
nothing is advertised anywhere. So, and I'm a resident of East Orange, so like some kind of mailing, any kind of local programming or advertising or anything like that has not gone up or around. Verizon sure knocks on the door frequently, but
Yeah, so I'm saying we know that they have the capacity to act. And number one, it's MTA. It's MTA New York. This whole idea that they don't have the capacity or the skill level to um to reach out to East Orange, to reach out to Newark, to reach out to Orange, to me is wild. And actually, you know what I should do, or we should do, Kimberly? We should see how much outreach is happening in Fort Lee. Because that neighborhood's a little bit more privileged than these other three neighborhoods. And I would like to see what is happening there. Because as you know, Kimberly and I wanted to go to the stakeholders meeting on March 2nd. And they said, and we were trying to get into this meeting for 7 months. 7 months. We were trying to find this meeting. We couldn't find it. I finally got an invitation. We were getting ready to go. And they sent us an email telling us that we couldn't go because we were media. But then they told us we should go and then try to talk to the media. We could talk to their media department, and the media department would ask us. And what date is it right now? The 23rd, 24th,
yeah,
or something like that. And
23rd, yeah.
I have not heard from them. Have you heard from them, Kimberly?
No, I have not heard from them. And you've called them, you've emailed them, you've not heard from them. You've just been pushed off to the side.
They're just like, ha ha ha, you're from New Jersey. You don't matter. And
Yeah,
I always want to say, I'm from Los Angeles, God damn it, I matter. But you know what? Even if I were from Los Angeles, I'm from New Jersey, and this is part of this system. And I think another thing that's really interesting that I kind of want to talk about is that it was like, I guess it was, there were several things that they were going to, this mitigation was going to fund. One was air infiltration and air conditioners in the schools.
Yes, near the schools near highways.
Yes, which I think is super important. And another were kind of like parks and green space. Um, I forgot what the third one was. I think it was something about trucks.
In they're the trucks like electric truck charging stations, and like in like embed more electric trucks coming into the city, that more impacted New York City. For New Jersey, it was also to install roadside vegetation to like mitigate like CO2 levels and things like that.
Well, you would think that for me, when I saw, I think Newark and East Orange, together, it would have been like, Newark, East Orange, and Orange to me is like one neighborhood. So that's like about $10 million that they're getting. I would have thought that they would have done something like have more buses from the cultural suburbs to the urban areas. Okay, just like I said, for people who don't know, all of New Jersey is all of North Jersey is urban. When we say suburban, we mean more white people, and when we say urban, we mean more black people. That's all we're saying, because they're both urban areas. But we got to play the game. So essentially, um, the suburban areas to the urban areas, you would think they would have bike lanes. What is this vegetation in parks? Wouldn't preventing people from driving
In
be?
general, be better CO2 mitigation. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely it would. And there are no last mile options in East Orange. Like if you don't live next to, I see it all the time. I see people like literally like getting on and off buses, like like struggling with children, with packages, like, and I see those same people walking blocks to their nearest bus stop or, whatever. None of the bus stops seem to have shelters around the neighborhood that I live in. It's just a sign. So these are things that this money could go towards, but it's not.
Well, also too, it could go towards, but it would be like that's the whole thing. When they decided what they were going to do, um, they haven't. Do they even talk to New Jersey? They haven't talked to New Jersey. They haven't talked to us because the thing is that if you go to the MTA site, it says ongoing. They don't even know which schools they're going to use. They're going to know where the vegetation is going to be. And the thing is that it's kind of getting updated, but not really. And then when you go to call Metro, you can't find anybody from any department. And here's another, I think, very insulting thing. They should be having in person stakeholder meetings.
Absolutely.
What is this Zoom thing? You're afraid to come to East Orange? You're afraid to come here? Like, what are you afraid to come to Newark? You're afraid. You know what? If you're afraid, then you shouldn't be running it. They should be off. They should be putting that to people who live in New Jersey.
Yes.
Even though I feel that some people in New Jersey did get money to do that, but they're doing a very poor job at letting people know because I think they have their own ideas. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm guessing because I was getting information, and in my own head, I'm like, how do some people kind of know about this and seem to know what's happening? Is the money already spent? Do they already know? Do they not want people to actually show up? Because
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
yeah,
Be-
it looks suspicious. Go ahead.
Because, and the thing is that like turning cities like Newark, parts of East Orange into like commuter areas is really damaging because when I lived in Harrison, Harrison had become a commuter city at that point in time. And commuters, people who park their car in your town to take the train are not considerate of your community in any way, shape, or form. They don't care about the way they park. They don't care about possibly hitting pedestrians. They dump their trash out onto your streets. So this is a real serious community-wide issue. Like East Orange has enough trouble with like litter and trash pickup and things like that. Like the last thing we need is a bevy of commuters dumping their car trash onto our city streets. And I looked into the East Orange stations. So East Orange Station only has one parking lot. that has 53 standard spaces and 3 accessible spaces. So 56 in total. So that's really like nothing when you're talking about like East Orange being a destination for commuters to park their cars. That's going to overflow all over our city streets. That's going to take parking away from people that need to run errands in town and get to places, and it's going to dirty up our city.
Well, also too, it's just like this whole idea that, oh, the people in East Orange don't matter, and then they just decide rather than kind of like do take care of that last mile problem, which is a huge problem. I mean, that last mile problem is why we can't get next to each other because we don't. It's like there's like this thing where they're like, we want to make sure that urban New Jersey and suburban New Jersey are separate. So we have it so that you cannot get there by public transit. That does not seem accidental to me. That seems, as they call it, that seems to be a crash of hegemony to prevent people from urban areas to coming into suburban areas. And I feel like my entire life I've lived on the border city, the city that's kind of like, this is the last city, the last stop before that's been my entire life. And so I can tell, and it's like you're just far enough away that you can't access things, but there's no public transit, there's no bike lanes, there isn't even a walking path. Like this is okay, I'm trying to calm down. This
My
is
my
deliberate.
but my block is huge. Like, my block is a huge wide street. It extends really far down in both directions, and there's no bus that ever comes down my block. I've lived in cities before where I relied on bus transportation, and nearly every street had its own bus route. Like, to get to the bus, I could get to bus stops here. The one that I would need to get to work is like almost a half a mile away.
And that's the thing that buses and trains and public transit it's supposed to be like a quarter mile away. Like if it's more than a quarter mile away, it's viewed as not accessible. Because that's about the amount of time. It's kind of like if you want people to get out of their cars, a quarter a mile away is kind of like the sweet spot. After that, people are like, that's too damn far. Or people who have disabilities, or people who just walk slower, or people with groceries, or people with kids. Like, even if you could walk, do you want to walk a mile with your kid? Do you want to walk like a half a mile with your kid in the snow, in the rain, in the heat? This is another thing you see, like the streets, I remember my saga trying to get my real ID in Newark.
I remember your saga. Yes.
I still do not have my real ID. Just want to point that out. Gone there 3 times and still have not gotten it, but it is in South Newark. And it to me is amazing that I always think of Newark as like that's a place where I can get anywhere in New York, the metro area, from Penn Newark, because the light rail takes me directly to Penn Newark. But when I went to and I was asking some of my students, because I teach economics in Newark, they were like, who lived in South Newark, they were like, oh, we have to take Uber if we going like and I had to take Uber because I was late to school. I was like, there's no bus, and they're like, no. I was like, there's no train, no. Like they were just kind of like, no. And I that's why I on my own decided to walk from where I am, I guess Central Newark to South Newark to drivers to get my real ID, and a bus passed me one time, and it was hot. It was the sun. I remember the sun being on me and like beating on me. I was like, ah. And then I remember one bus came by and left a lady, and she was running towards the bus. She was like, no, I'm here, I'm
Oh
coming.
no, the worst.
It was awful. I was like, this is some kind of weird. This sounds like this is like a living visual of there are two Americas. There are two Newarks. Like I was like, oh my, because this is viewed like congestion pricing. They're like, oh, it's a transportation solution, but it's also a land use decision where they've decided that Newark, East Orange, and Orange aren't places where people live. They're places where people can park,
Yeah.
which is wild because it's super dense in those areas. It's super dense. It's super, I don't know, it just think there's a lot of people in those areas.
There is a lot of people, and there's not really a lot of room for people that are just gonna come around and leave their car all day, especially in East Orange.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing too. It's like if they're going to be doing this kind of stuff, I hope they're doing parking districts so they can do land capture. So essentially, if you're going to have these people from the suburbs come into your neighborhood and park there, you can actually capture that parking and use that money to build to fund public transit, to fund walking paths, to fund bike lanes. And this is something they should be thinking of because it doesn't have to just be that money, that mitigation money that they got. And also, too, I hope to God this is ongoing. I hope it's not. I got to look into it and see is this a one time thing? Because if it's a one time thing, well, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to look into this, Kimberly. Had Metro called us back, we could be able to get questions and answers, but also all of the information on the mitigation. It's from 2024, 2025. So we called the media department and said, hey, this is what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any updated information? Can you send me something? Can you whatever? So now we have a free record request, FOI, because they don't want to actually give us any information. But I think it's just wild. I didn't even think about that. I just can't in my mind. I'm like, is this a one-time payment or this should be continuous?
It should be continuous, and this is something that participatory budgeting, which we've talked about on the show before, should come into play, where citizens that live in the neighborhoods that are most greatly affected by the increased congestion get to decide where that money is going to go in their neighborhoods and in their communities and how it benefits them.
Yes, and I do hope um that they do, if they do build more parking, I do hope that parking money goes into a fund that is a transportation fund. South Pasadena actually did this, where they had a parking district, and the funding that they got from the money that they got from the parking went into transportation, land use, all kinds of things. It could go to the schools, it can go whatever. I mean, because you I just thought about that. You are part of this last mile, and it's like you have no way out. It's like this weird thing. Like if you have a car, you have a way out, but if you don't have a car, you don't have a way out. And they'll
Yeah.
have shuttles and things. Like I know that some jobs and stuff. Like I think I'm not going to name it because I'm not really sure, but I know some jobs have shuttles to pick up their people and all this stuff and all that. But
The buildings in Harrison have shuttles also to pick up their people from the PATH station.
yeah, and this is it's just really interesting because they, we the residents who are not by the train, they don't even get to use that train. Because that's another thing too, is that, a lot of people in East Orange, Orange, you know, the ones people who don't live by the train, they don't work in New York. Because New York hiring practices are not only sexist, they are sexist, but they are also racist. So we have this whole community that labor wise is cut out of Manhattan's labor market and can't even use a train in their own neighborhood because it's like they're not near the train, but also too they can't even afford to take the train. It's expensive. The heavy rail is expensive. I was kind of
Yeah.
like shocked because I'm a path girly. I the path is like way cheaper. And I was surprised like when that during that when they shut down the North Polo Bridge, I was like, I know it might have sucked for you guys to take the path, but wasn't it nice to pay like half of what you're paying with the heavy rail? Um, but that's the thing too. I think people feel like, oh well, since they're paying this money for the heavy rail, they should have the more of a right to the street than the people who live there. I
Yeah.
think there's that kind of mindset that's going on.
And that's not fair to the community. That's absolutely not fair to the community.
Exactly. So and I want to know who the consultant is, because you know what, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna bet you money. I'm gonna bet you a gin and tonic that owing to this conversation, they're gonna hire a consultant. And I bet you the consultant is gonna look like me. I bet you the consultant is gonna be like, we're all about, and they won't call it anti-racism. They can't call it that now, but they'll call it something, and they'll be like, "We care about what you have to say," and they'll just. I bet this is going to happen. This is going to be result. The result won't be fixing it. The result
No.
will just be, and it's kind of for us, we really talk about like working class issues. The thing is that we do have to point out, yes, East Orange is predominantly African American, but East Orange is also predominantly working class. And so our issue and our concern is not that, oh, we're going to give a person of color a good job. That is not what we're asking for. We do not need you to give a $500,000 contract to a firm in East Orange to tell people it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. There's no fire. It's fine. It's not fine.
No. The people of East Orange deserve real solutions to the problems that exist here.
And it is a real problem. It's a real problem that exists. And it's just really like, I guess the thing is just like you're not giving people power. And it makes me sad when I was talking about this, because that's what I said initially. I was kind of mad, and I am still mad at the MTA. But then I got sad because I was talking to people in East Orange, I was talking to people in Newark, and they were like, "No, we don't know about that. We would like to know." And so then it became this thing where people are asking me like information. They're like, "We could get like money for the congestion pricing," and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. And I felt sad because these people actually wanted to know what they could do, how they could advocate to get like air conditioning in their kids' schools, air filtration in their kids' schools. And I had nothing to tell them. And there's no one doing a story on it. And that's wild to me because we have Tri-State Coalition, New Jersey Bike Walk, all these people. What are they doing?
Exactly. What are they doing and why don't people in East Orange, people in Newark, people in Orange, they care about their communities. They get really fired up about their communities. They want their communities to do better, to be what everybody else, what the people who live here see the cities as. And they're being left out of the conversation. And the people who know best about what their communities need are the people who actually live in the community.
And also, so what do they do? And what does Tri-State, whatever coalition, New Jersey Bike Walk? Okay, I'm sorry. I know people are going to be upset. Whatever. They're still on this Greenway thing. That Greenway has nothing to do with the last mile. It has
No.
nothing to do. You're wasting all the social capital, and now you're trying to I know what they're going to try to do. Take funding, that mitigation funding. We should put it in the Greenway. I know they're going to do that, and this is really infuriating to me because people need to be able to get to work, to get to areas where get to social areas where there's people. There's just not going to be people. Don't, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but this is not Manhattan. People don't just hang out in the park. We don't have like economic commerce activity going on in the park. And so essentially you're trying to take something that is for the community, to help the community to mitigate this, and then use it for your own selfish project. And I know they're going to do this. And I know that's why I can't find the information, because I heard about this through a certain group of people. And I'm like, I'm just kind of like, I'm livid, but I'm not gonna, my most of my anger is directed at the MTA headquarters, and the Triborough Authority. And again, I want to say, we are for this project. We are for congestion pricing. People
Absolutely.
should not be driving into New York City. But in the same token, though, you cannot use communities as parking lots, because this whole idea of, I don't want to take the bus into East Orange, into Newark, into Orange. Okay, if people are going to be racist and classist, make them pay. You better make those lots $300 a month. Make those lots. You know what? I'm using LA language. It's probably a good lot would be $1,000. I'm a low ball. Like this is what happened when you're not from the area and you're like, I'm gonna punish them. You're gonna pay $20 a month for your lot because in LA parking is so cheap. But yeah, we parking should be $1,000. You know, if you park your car in a garage in Manhattan, how much do you pay? You probably pay $2,000, $3,000.
I can't even imagine the cost. It's so silly to even own a car in Manhattan.
Yes, and so the thing is, this is that if you can't take the bus to East Orange, you can't take the bus to Newark, you can't take the bus to Orange, then you need to pay. And the money that goes out to pay for your racism and classism needs to be funneled back to those communities.
Yes.
So that we can develop systems so that people will be like, you know what? I am going to take the bus to East Orange. We'll make them pay until it funds a transportation land use system that everybody's actually comfortable with. And you know what, Kimberly, I think they'll pay for it. I think we could get them to pay.
I think eventually that they would. Yeah, I think that they would. It's a real shame when I look at, pictures of East Orange historically and the numerous public transportation options that East Orange used to have. And it's a real shame that that has gone away and that people ignore the fact that, those things can be restored. The framework and the structure still exists in a lot of places, and those things can be restored, but instead we're talking about, as you said, the Greenway.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is disappointing because again, the Greenway could be a train. Because I think that would be better suited to be a train. And we can't even have this conversation because essentially the Greenway it's like a cult now. And it's like you can't even say, hey, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe it should still be a train. Maybe it should be a light rail. No, the bike. Again, remember, Kimberly, I ride my bike. So it's not like I'm like an anti-bike person. So this is not coming from an anti-bike person. This is coming from a person who is an urbanist. No, I say I'm an urban critic, and a political economist that actually that actually engages in critical thinking and actually looks at the region and looks at what is going on and going, this would be more useful as a train. This needs a light rail. This needs a bike lane. This is what this needs. Not just, oh, what does development need? What does market economics need? What I don't care about supply side economics. Chicago School of Economics is wrong. See, these are all the things, the tech oligarchs should stop being like kowtowed to. This is all the things that I think, which I feel like it makes me sad that urbanism in the United States, and I have to say that New York is Manhattan's a little bit better, but in New Jersey it is ridiculous, ridiculous. We need last mile options, and that's what people who are in advocacy should be focusing on. We got to talk to those people, the root people.
Yes, yeah, we should talk to those
We
people.
got to talk to Chris because we got to see. Like, hopefully they have figured it out. They know what's up because that's what I really want to talk to. Is there anything else that you would like to add today, Kimberly?
That's really it. I think, but I talked enough about, the effects that this is going to have on East Orange. It just we need to make our voices heard about this situation and about the money and how it's going to affect our communities.
That's right. And we also need to make sure that this money is continuous. This is not a one-time payment. Like, here, you get 8.5. Because that's the thing I kept looking. I'm like, okay, but is this just one time? It should be continuous. Anytime that there's congestion pricing, and also too, they did really well. They made more money than they thought they were going to make on the congestion pricing. And it was less people in the city. So maybe they need to like configure those numbers that New Jersey's getting. Because
Yeah.
if it's more money than they thought they were going to be getting, that means there's more traffic than they thought they were going to be getting. So that means the mitigation numbers should actually be higher for that. So these are other things. So this is the whole thing. This is what happens when MTA headquarters just doesn't call us back. The now we get to go down this rabbit hole.
Yes.
Um, and with that, thank you for listening. Please, look at our Substack. Oh, not look at it. Subscribe to our Substack. Um, subscribe to our Spotify. And keep. I'm gonna come in front of this talk. Stay informed because we have in-person events. We actually had our first in-person event at the Core Tavern. It was very successful, and everybody was like happy and drunk. And no, just kidding. Everyone happy
It
and
was it was a good time. It was a very good time. It had good turnout.
we did. So we plan on having more in-person events because really us having these conversations in person is also important. All right, and with that, you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening.